what you see here is pretty nervous. And the amazing thing about it is that nothing was keyframed and no dynamics take place. It's only simple maths, and by simple I mean simple. So give it a try. It's worth exploring mathematics within Maya, and it's really no threat. So let's start with a new scene. We'll create a cone. Could be any other kind of object, really. And right mouse click, we give it a new material. For example, a Phong shader, which makes it shiny a little bit. Here in the attribute editor, we see the color, which is currently gray. Let's click on the checkerboard and give it a texture. It's a procedural texture, which means it's mathematically simple and very powerful indeed. Let's choose the grid. And in order to see the grid, I think we need to activate this icon. Yes, right. So this is a grid. It's wrapped somehow over that cone. And now we'll introduce mathematics. And the equation we're going to use now is the following. If we play with this parameter here, you see the white areas increase. And from 0 to 0.5, the slider could go further if you typed in another value here. So let's type in equals random, that's R-A-N-D, bracket open, and then we'll put in the value of 0, comma, 0.5. And we close the bracket and we press enter. Now we have a random function working on the V width of the texture. That's what it does. Basically a very simple function, which is a random number generator. So here we have the number 0.477. One frame further or back, we have 0.472. And we have 181. And so it's all different from frame to frame. Let's put in another function here in the U width. The U width controls this, the amount of white and black in the other direction of the UV mapping. So let's type in here equals cosine, that's COS, and we open a bracket, and we want the cosine well to work from, not from one number to the next, but according to frame. When the frame changes, when the frame is 5, we want the cosine of 5 being calculated. And what this does is this here. Okay, we see something different happening from before. From before we had only changes in this direction, but now we have changes in the other direction too. That's what it does. And since this is a little bit very nervous, and we can easily change this, we go to the right mouse button and click Edit Expression. Then the expression editor jumps up, and here we see the equation. Just don't worry about anything up here. That's what we just typed in. We typed in grid1 dot u width. That actually we didn't type in because it's sitting here already. But we typed in equals cosine of frame. Now let's select frame and enter time. Time is like 24 frames per second. Edit, and we close the window. Now the U changes will go much slower, you see. But the randomness of the vertical changes still stays there. Now we changed the U width and the V width with mathematical functions. This with a cosine, could have been a sine as well, pretty similar. And with a random number, the V width. Now let's go to an interesting editor. And I think we've never touched on it. It's been in Maya since version 1. Go to Windows and General Editors, and here you find the connection editor. Let's meditate briefly about it. The connection editor connects parameters of all kinds of objects you can think of. Let's do this now. The connection editor opens with the selected node in Maya on the left side. That's the usual way it opens. Let's clear everything in order to get the workflow ready. Important from to. We can change this direction by clicking on it from the right to the left. Okay, from to. On the left side, we want to have the grid 1. That's our texture, which has animation parameters, expressions built in already, because we just did that. So let's select it and reload it on the left side. So on the left side now we have all the parameters which can be connected to things we'll load into the right side. For example, U width and V width. Here we go. That's U and that's V. That's what we're going to deal with. Now let's go to the right side. We want to change translation or scaling parameters of the cone. So let's select the cone now. Nothing happens so far, but the cone is selected and not the texture anymore. So let's reload this to the right side. So on the left side now we have the grid, which is the texture, and on the right side we have the cone. Let's select the U width. That's what we did animate with the cosine function. And now you see certain things grayed out. For example, translate. Let's open it, and it's not grayed out anymore. So we can control the U width, which is a cosine function. Let it control the translation in X. And you also already see that something moves here. The cone moves a little bit. We can connect it to translate X as well, and to translate Y as well. So the cosine of this color, basically the U mapping, will control all three axes. Actually, let's unclick translate X, so it won't do anything to the up and down direction, and see what it works. Keep the window open for now. So the cone moves diagonally with a cosine. It's a swinging motion in Z and X. That's what we did with nothing but connecting the U width, making it control the translation X and the translation Z. Now let's stop the animation and go to the V width parameter. That's the one we fed with the random function. And well, we can make it control the scale. The scale is here. It's grayed out, but you can open it and it can for example, control the scale in Y, which is the height of the cone. So let's play the animation now. Since the random number doesn't go very high, we won't have a very high cone now. But the cone changes its height every frame with every frame. Now it's almost flat. Let's go from one frame back. It's much higher. And so there's a random number scaling a random number. That's all we did in the connection editor. So we didn't even think about anything, what it does and how far it will move back and forth or left and right. We just connected attributes so they will absolutely follow each other. So the U width and the V width, which are textures, now control scaling and translation of the cone. We can close the window. We could deselect the things in the connection editor, and then the functions wouldn't be connected anymore. Now, finally, this is a very fast animation. How do we slow it down? We click here, and this opens the settings. And we have general settings here, and it's right here. And the settings, I think you could change it here as well, down here in 24 frames per second. But this is the general window for this. If you want to see our randomness slower, let's go to 6 frames per second, for example. Save and close the window. Now we have a much slower animation. And all we did was use 2 mathematical functions and the connection editor to make this thing move and scale.